Hello, everybody. It is Man Alone. Welcome to my channel. If you're new to this channel, I usually review deli meats and DJ equipment, but today I want to talk about another one of my passions, which is solo role-playing. And specifically, we're going to be talking about Solitary Defilement, an engine of lonesome death for Mor Borg by 1d10 plus 5, distributed by Max Moon Games, who, if you saw a previous video, I issued a somewhat cloying plea for Max to consider earning some space on my play area here. And Max, very wise, reached out to me. So Max is now featured in this area. We're going to do a little business together. So looking forward to having some items from Max for your reviewing pleasure, and that will come in soon. But Max, congratulations. You've made it to the Man Alone play area. Everyone is proud. In fact, everyone at home, if you want to give a small applause right now. Very good. Thank you. Why am I doing a session 0 for Solitary Defilement? Well, Solitary Defilement and Mor Borg. Well, it's more than a session 0. Okay. This is like a session -5 because we will maybe do some character creation, but I want to talk about Mor Borg and Solitary Defilement, give a little bit of instructions on how to play, because there is actually not a lot of videos that give an overview on how to play both of these. In fact, there's far less instructional videos on Mor Borg than I had thought. So what we're going to do is I'm going to talk a little bit about Mor Borg as a product. Then I'll talk a little bit about the lore as best as I can because it's not the clearest lore. Then I'll talk about how to play the core game, and then I'll tie it together with Solitary Defilement, and then we'll bring up a character. I'll show you some of the tools that I use so that we're ready to play a playthrough by the end of the month. Now, why am I playing a playthrough by the end of the month? Well, because I was, let's say, encouraged. I'll use the word encouraged rather than, emotionally blackmailed or anything like that. I'll say that I was encouraged through a comment strike by Desert Dweller Solo Gaming, who some videos ago started posting the comment that they were going to continue commenting until I played a Solitary Defilement. And so I said, okay, I called him on it. I said, look, you post a comment on 6 of my videos, I'll do it. And I said, nobody's going to be able to do this, 6 videos. You got to watch 6 videos, comment on each of them without missing one. But I got to hand it to them. They did it. And so I'm not going to be a player hater here. I issued the impossible task, and they rose to the challenge. So I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. They're now on comment 8 out of 6. The campaign is not stopped, and I don't expect that this video will stop it either, because I feel that they're not going to stop until I actually play. But yeah, so we will do a session 0 here, and then before the end of May, I will do a playthrough. Right now, I'm thinking just a one-shot, an introduction, but who knows? Anything can happen. I've got a lot of irons in the fire. Speaking of which, congratulations to everyone who participated in the I Can Solo Anything campaign. I ended up having 75 submissions. 75! The judges are literally flying in on Friday. Can't say that it's because of this specifically, but because it just happens to coincide with a fun event that's going on. And so we're going to sift through all the entries on Friday. And so hopefully by this weekend, we'll know who won, and I can put together the awards video. We'll try to come up with some different categories. And then there'll be 2 U.S. overall winners and 2 international winners. But there'll be some runners-up, undoubtedly. Don't know if everyone, they're not going to be prizes for everybody, but there's still going to be that sweet, sweet publicity, which is every YouTube commenter is just looking for that, to get their name out there as a top commenter. And then, of course, also that means that I will be doing a roleplay session using just this can of peas as the input. Some can of peas, and some dice. So, yeah, now that that's a reality, I'm sort of sitting here going, oh, God, how am I going to... Well, we'll figure it out. I'm not worried about it because I can solo with anything. And we're looking forward to seeing some of the ideas you have. Just sort of scrolling through all of your submissions, I could not stop laughing. And they are somehow funnier, too, because the way that they're listed, you have to kind of click them to expand them. And so a lot of times I only see like half the sentence. And so for the entry, it'll be like, how do you... what would you use as a device for soloing? And so some of these start out, it's like, all right, hear me out. So, you know, when you have a jar of peanut butter and you can't get the stuff at the bottom, well, ... And that's like all you could see without expanding it. And so it's just like imagining what the rest of these entries say. I'm so excited. All right. So again, let's talk here. Let's talk about MÖRK BORG. Let me just start out by saying this. I know that the way to actually say this in Swedish is something like MÖRK BORG. I know that, all right? I'm not going to do that. I'm not able to do that. I'm American. My mouth is not, the architecture of my mouth is not conducive to that. Umlauts, we don't know what those are. Like, as Americans, we think those are like googly eyes above a letter, went to give the letter a personality. Like, if I look at this here, that to me looks at like a face going, ooh, right? So we don't really understand umlauts. If you were to ask 100 Americans on the street what an umlaut is, they would say, are you in trouble? Or they would say, is that a Weiss beer? Or they would say, how dare you call me that? So umlaut, we're not going to... Umlaut is out, okay? So MÖRK looks like pork. That's how we say it. MÖRK BORG. Borg looks like pork if it had a B and a G. Borg. MÖRK pork. Or MÖRK BORG. Pork. It's not actually pork. MÖRK BORG. All right? That's how I'm going to say it. MÖRK BORG. And I'm sorry if that's wrong. You know, I have some Swedish friends. I mean no offense. But I think a greater offense would be if this whole video, if I did that weird thing where I switch my accent and I'm going, okay, on page 5 of MÖRK BORG, I'm just not going to be able to do it. I'm sorry. All right, so I'm not going to say that MÖRK BORG is a polarizing game because it's not. The reality is that most people love MÖRK BORG. Even people who don't want to play MÖRK BORG like MÖRK BORG. Why? Because MÖRK BORG is an absolute work of art. MÖRK BORG, you know what? I'm going to pause and see if I can try something that I don't think will work on camera, but just 1 second. You'll see what I'm talking about. Okay, that didn't work at all. In fact, I think that was the dumbest thing I've ever done on this channel. I attempted to show that on the side here, this actually glows in the dark. The problem is, and this is why I should be, if you see me, I think just smack me in the face if you ever see me, because I was like, maybe I could turn off all the lights in my house and I can get it to glow. So I did that, but the only light I can't turn off is the camera. And so, no, I was not able to demonstrate the way that this glows in the dark. Oh, how humiliating. All right, it's fine. I didn't have to keep that. I could have just kept my humiliation personal and private, but I offer that to you for wasting your time. The thing I was trying to point out is that MÖRK BORG is you know, it is a splendid artifact. It is more than a game. It is truly a work of art. This is from Stockholm Cartel from Free League Publishing, and it is text and game design by Pelle Nielsen and graphic design by Johan Noor. And the reason why it's not polarizing is because, you know, polarizing to me would be that some people say I love this game and some people say I hate this game. There is nobody I know that really hates MÖRK BORG. Maybe they'll show up in the comment. But I think the two sides of it would be I love this game, or this game is really cool, but it's not for me. I just don't get it. Or like I really want to like this game, but it's just not giving me what I want. Or the critique that I hear most often is it's substance, style over substance, right? It's all style, no substance, which I disagree with. And I want to talk about my disagreement and why I disagree with that. But yes, this is a game that it very much is invested in its own vision of what it wants to be in terms of design, layout, the choices that are made. And there are times, admittedly, a lot of times in this book that, the instructions can be clearer. There'll be times when like stuff is hidden in the corner of a page, and if you don't catch it, you just don't know how the mechanic works. There's obviously a lot of liberty taken with font and text direction. Even page materials differ. But this art is so captivating and so specific and so just absolutely singular. What is it? Sui generis, in a class all of its own. And then you have these pages like this that are just like embossed. And I admit it, the table of contents are like towards the back. And so some people do interpret it as hostile to the reader. I actually view it as trusting of the reader. I look at it to say, the people who are drawn to this game are going to be drawn to this game, and they're going to be able to work through the difficulties of this. And it's worth it because the experience of reading it, even if you never intend to play it, the experience of just owning it, down to like the little page ribbon here. Look at this. Is like got, intentional design on it. Everything is beautiful. Look at this calendar of Necrobel. So, but there are some people, it's an OSR system. It's definitely simplified role playing. It's not too complicated if you could sort of navigate through everything. But some people, they're like, well, I would rather play a game that has clearer rules because the fun is in the actual game and not the book or whatever it is. Hey, look, I get it. Not everyone can like everything. But I do disagree about this style over substance notion. And I'll tell you why. Because I actually want to grab a D&D book. 1 second. Okay. So we have together here the Dungeon Master's Guide and Player's Handbook. So that many pages. And now I'm not saying you have to read the whole thing here, but let's just start at chapter 6 here in the DM's Guide. Between Adventures. Okay, ready? Foreshadowing. Sowing rumors. Performing sacred rites. Running a business. Building a stronghold. Training to gain levels. That's pretty good. Types of treasures. Treasure tables. Using treasure hoard tables. Magic items. Gemstones. 50 gold piece gemstones. 100 gold piece. 500,000 gold piece gemstones. 5,000 gold piece gemstones. Ooh, the ruby. Art objects and the different costs for art objects. Treasure hoard challenges. Individual treasure challenges. Treasure hoards challenges for levels 11 to 16. What minor property does this magical item have? What quirk does it have? Who is it intended to use? Magic item tables. Magic item tables A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. Magic items A to Z. And we can't forget the different levers on the apparatus of Qualish levers. Shall I keep going? Oh, when's the last time you were in a game and you picked up a bag of devouring? Oh man, I can't get through a game without getting my bag of devouring and my carpet of flying. But most importantly of all, I need my cube of force faces, because if I don't have my cube of force faces, but then again, really when it comes down to it, the most important thing here is the dust of dryness, this wondrous item, and the eyes of charming. I'll never forget the first time that I got a folding boat or a gloves of missile snaring. Oh man, the horseshoes of a zephyr, very rare. This is a bowling ball with a diamond through it. Here's some stupid instruments that Ravi Shankar played. Here is a lantern of revealing, a luck blade, the mariner's armor, oath bow. Here's the type of giants, the potion of flying. When's the last time you used that? Here's a ring with a brain on it, robe of stars, robe of useful items, sphere of annihilation is pretty cool. And on it goes. Now, my question is, what are the minor and major detrimental properties of different artifacts. I want to ask, and I want you to be honest. How often is this shit used? How often is this shit used? Okay. And my other question is, do I really need to have a book create all these things for me? Or can I have the book create a seed for me? And when that seed, I can germinate it on my own as the game master or the solo player. Because what happens a lot of times when you're playing D&D, you're flipping through the damn book. You're looking down at your character sheet. And so, sure, there's not as much substance in this book as there is in a D&D book. But you know what? Every single page in this book has not only something beautiful to look at, it has mechanics. It has things that I can roll on. It has things that I can immediately use, that I will use. I have read through this entire book more than once. I know how to play a full game of this, and I knew how to do that within an hour. There are actual pages that differentiate themselves and look different so that when I'm flipping through, I can recognize by sight, oh, here's the Gutterborn Scum. Here's the Arcane Catastrophes. Here's what it looks like to have a broken body. Now, I'm not saying that every single RPG can do this level of art and layout, because this is a truly unique artistic vision, okay? It's a truly unique artistic vision, but I think that this is not a lack of substance. It's what it looks like when you distill down the substance of a game to what needs to be there, and you get rid of a ton of the bullshit that increases all these printing costs and gives you a 400-page Game Master's book and a 300-page player's guide, when I can have just as much fun with this book, which is about 88 pages. So am I angry? No, I'm not angry, and I'm not even dismissive. And I feel kind of bad about the 5 minutes of mocking that I just did, because I know that for some of you, those are really special parts of that Game Master's Guide, and you love having all of those resources. I don't need all of that. In fact, what that does is it slows the game down, it limits, it boxes me in, because I say, oh, I want to create a spell, but I bet that spell already exists. Something that I am often struck by, and I'll need to find it, of course, because, oh my God, I just opened exactly to the page I was looking for. This is spells. Chapter 11, spells. This is spells in this game. That's the spells. Okay? Now, that's not even the description. That's just a list of it. And here's the thing. This chapter describes the most common spells. So these are the most common ones. I mean, I understand that there are some people that this is their life, like D&D 5e, this is all they play. And they could probably get to this video and they could say, I know all these. I've seen all of these. I've used all of these. But for me, I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested so much in spending so much time figuring those kind of things out, because that's not the kind of play I do. And when I'm solo playing especially, I want to be able to perceive and create at the same time. And so if I'm just looking through a book constantly trying to find out the thing that I'm looking for, all it does is it changed my solo play into solo reading. So I'm sorry for a bit of a rant there, but I do kind of get annoyed when people say, oh, this is all style and no substance, when in actuality, this book is absolutely full of so many tables and tools and rule sets and everything, and it's so vivid. And for me, it does one of the most important things that a game can do, which is tell you the tone of the game. It's a tone poem. It is telling you the vibe. What is the world that this place exists in? What is the attitude of this game? And that, more so than having an exhausted list of different flutes. And by the way, sorry what I said about Ravi Shankar. I mean, a true excellent musician. And who's his daughter? I forgot who his daughter is. She's famous too. Is that Nora Jones? God, I'm getting myself into some deep shit here. Anyways, I think that Mor Borg has plenty of substance, exactly as much substance as it needs. And there's something special about the fact that in terms of Stockholm Cartel, like specifically, there are about 5 or 6 actual licensed gameplay items. Okay. So there are lots of like compatible with Mor Borg. But in terms of like what is available, and it's relatively young, I know that, but it's not like they're printing these things out every other week, right? Within the 4 or 5 years that it's been around, you have Feretory, Core Game, you have Heretic, you have the GM guide, or the GM screen, which, by the way, is incredible in every way, except one. I have one minor gripe with it that I'll talk about. But here's the back of it. It's 5 panels. Unreal. Beautiful. Tons of good information. This is an actual GM screen that's like so damn worth it to have up in front of you. My only gripe is it actually has these 2 additional inserts. And 2 of them aren't as useful, which is like different stuff to eat and drink at an inn, and these tablets of ochre obscurity, which I've never gotten around to understanding. But the other sides are events that happen in a city and traps. And they come with these little tiny plastic, if you could see, like right here, these little plastic holders. And when I first got this, within 1 second, I opened it and I pulled this out and it broke. And so I returned it. And then I got a new one. And now instead of within 5 seconds, it was within 10 seconds that this one broke as well. And so I'm really not able to like keep these inserts in there, which is fine. I mean, I don't really like need, if I'm using the DM screen, I'm probably not going to have those inserts in there anyways. But yeah, it's a little bit of a grievance I have just in terms of the construction of it. But other than that, it is an amazing DM screen. And why the hell can I not? Saying, oh my God, this is such a waste of everyone's. Okay, well, anyways, it does that. So, okay. So that's 4 items, and then it has Icon, which is these 4 little booklets that you can. I don't fully understand Icon. There's these books where you kind of randomly pull them, and then you go into these like different, I guess, gods or dark forces. Like this is the Silk Fiend, and like a blessing or a curse they put on you, and you can't pull another one until the one is resolved. But yeah, I think you can buy a pad of the player sheets. I know that they're kickstarting an action figure right now, but besides that, this is it, right? This is like, and it kind of gives that. What I like about this is it gives the proprietary software feel, right? Where you feel like it's kind of like the difference between when you have an Xbox and you get Game Pass and you're like, wow, look at all these games. And then you scroll through them and you're like, okay, I like about 3 of them out of 100. Whereas Nintendo games, they don't come out as often, but when they do come out, you're like, oh, hell yeah. I know this is going to be good because, Nintendo wanted Excite Bike 2024 or whatever to make a comeback, and the game is really well crafted and very well launched, and there's no like waiting for patches or anything like that. I feel that all of these are very special items and that were lovingly crafted and approved. Now, one thing I just want to mention is that I think a lot of people they think that Pirate Borg is a Stockholm Cartel product, and don't get me wrong, it's in the same family because it's from Free League, but it's actually from Limithron. And I know I'm about to beat up on Vaskrim again, but when you look through Pirate Borg, which is of comparable price to Vaskrim and trying to pull off the same thing, the amount of tools, stories, options, characters, mechanics, enemies, ship sailing jobs, NPCs, different this is unreal in terms of its value and what it adds to the game, but it is not it is not a Stockholm Cartel product. The only other ones that are Stockholm Cartel are Cyborg, which is the futuristic sort of dystopian Mor Borg, and I believe they're publishing an adventure for that soon, a campaign, if not already. They may have already done that. Bit parched. Okay, so Mor Borg is a beautiful game with a simplified rules system that is very much OSR. It's not for everybody, but I think even if you're a person that just likes having special products that are, when you're holding it, you're like, wow, I'm holding something that is a lot, is there's nothing else quite like it. I want to recommend it. And I want to go over the lore a little bit and the rules, and then we'll go into Solitary Defilement. And we'll have to make some decisions between now and session 1 because there are some rules, a little bit of rules contrast between Solitary Defilement and Mor Borg, because Mor Borg is going to go on really a D20 rollover system, very basic OSR format, where Solitary Defilement uses an Iron Sworn or Powered by the Apocalypse system of rolling 2d20 and then having either a strong hit, weak hit, or a miss. So we can talk about that. But the first thing I want to talk about is the lore of Mor Borg, as far as it can be ascertained. So the way that this is, I think, self-described, a doom metal album of a game, a spiked flail to the face, rules light, heavy, everything else. One day all will blacken and burn, just as the two-headed basilisks have predicted. The world is dying, time is short, how will you face these last days? Robbing graves for soil-stained wealth, or facing down the apocalypse, hoping it can be fought. I have to get a drink of water. Delicious. That water was delicious. Okay. So yes, this is a very unique vision, and the setting is bleak. All right. The people living in this world are losing their minds. They're not having fun. They know that the world's about to end. But that gives a very definitive picture of how people are going to be acting in this setting, right? Because some people are going to be trying to find a higher meaning. Some people are going to be trying to make their lives right so that they go to the shimmering fields in the afterlife. Some people are going to be giving themselves over to hedonism or brutality. And some people are just not going to know what the hell to do with themselves. This countdown to the end of the world is one of the places in which the style and substance, or the mechanics and the lore, intersect in a very, very satisfying way, and in a way that is also very cool in terms of like the feeling that it creates while playing the game. We're going to talk about the actual system that this uses, the calendar of Necrobel or Necrobel, that creates that sort of countdown feeling in the game. All right. The writing can be cryptic. And I think the best way to look at it is if you've ever read like post-structuralist philosophy, like or maybe like postmodernist, like Derrida. If you're reading like Derrida, or I don't know, maybe if you're reading like anything by Deleuze and Guattari, you know that while you're reading it, you don't really understand everything. If you say you understand everything, you're lying, because I don't think the authors understood everything, but there is a certain feeling or a notion that comes up. That's the best way to read through Mor Borg, is with this feeling of like, I don't really know everything that's being said here, but I get like the idea under it. So let me read this intro. The wind from the west, from the sundered land, rot rides it in the stench of blood. Cursed walker, will you travel there, to the valley of the unfortunate undead? Our young ones are taken by the child thief Turgal, known for his vile crimes and alchemy of flesh. Distances shift, paths between places warp, as if this pale, lightless world possessed a will and bitter life, its mercy curdled to wrath over a too long age. Who are you? The grave robber with silver glittering between cracked fingernails? The mystic who would bend the world's miserable heart away from its inevitable end? Most likely it makes little difference. No one has seen the sun in years. The old care more for sacrifice and god offerings than their bawling spawn. Doomsayers are proved right time and again and embraced by hidden powers. Maybe it's best to surrender, to trust your own instinct and skill rather than the whim of the dice. Before all is drowned in welcome silence, life locked and failing in a dark fort. And Dark Fort is, MÖRK Borg in Swedish, I believe is Dark Fort. And again, that is also the name of the micro dungeon crawl that sort of spawned this game, a copy of which they include in Heretic in the back fold here that I've showed before. It's just a 4-page spread with some character sheets. All right, that's Dark Fort. It's a little mini game included in there. So yeah, this world is ending, and it's what you'd say is eschatology. There is a definitive eschatology end times feel here, and because of that, you have to face this existential notion while you're playing this game of what matters? If you know that everything's about to blacken and burn away, what does it all matter, and who is responsible for this? So there are two what might be called gods, demigods, doom prophets. And it starts with this Anukschläger, who was a monk of the Cretan order. Cretan. In the year 565, we don't know if that's R565 or some alternative timeline. Anukschläger encounters Virhu, Verhu. And Virhu is one of these two-headed basilisks. So these basilisks, there's 2 of them, 2 heads apiece, 4 heads total. Are you going to know what each of these heads are about? No. Some of them, they have very little description of them, but I'll tell you what I know. All right. So there's he and there's she. He is Virhu, and I always forget this other one, Gorg. Virhu and Gorg, and then she is Lucy and Ark. All right. Virhu is the main basilisk head of he. Virhu is the one that told this Anukschläger all of these things that were going to happen, these prophecies, okay? Schläger wrote them down, and then 300 years later, these other monks inside the order are going through... by the way, he wrote what became the Bible, called the Nameless Scriptures. Then 300 years later, when they're trying to build a new cathedral of the 2-headed basilisk, they go into Schläger's tomb, they find the scriptures, and they find that in the last 300 years, everything in those scriptures that they said was going to happen did happen. And so they know that these scriptures are legit, because it's proof is in the pudding. It says all this stuff was going to happen. It happened exactly as it said. And then it goes forward and it says after that, more stuff that's going to happen that has not happened yet. And that is basically this apocalyptic proclamation. And so they know that these prophecies are true because all this stuff that happened for 300 years came to pass. And so these prophecies have become the predominant religious text in this world. They've surpassed all other religious texts. And this cathedral of the 2-headed basilisk serves as the center of one of the large areas of the land, which is Galgenbeck. Galgenbeck is the land of Tveland, is the greatest city that ever was. No king or queen rules, but an archpriestess, Josilfa Meagle. All right. And so Galgenbeck is right here in the center of everything. If you think of it in terms of Game of Thrones, it's like Queen's Landing. Okay. And then in that same land, there's also Sarkash, which is through a very dark forest. And there's, they just lay it on thick. Mausoleums, blank-eyed cherubs, stagnant fountains, plague pits, and ordinary graves. But hasn't it grown warmer in this usually cold place? Do you hear frantic scratching? Then we have the Palace of the Shadow King. All right. And so this is a mirror to the Cathedral of the 2-headed basilisk. You have this Palace of the Shadow King, and it's this Gothic black castle, like a mirror to the Cathedral of the 2-headed basilisk, and that's in Graven Tosk. Okay, so Graven Tosk is right here, Galgenbeck is right here, and so it's sort of like this kind of binary. It's not like the Galgenbeck is this shimmering place of light, but the Shadow King has this sort of inverted kingdom here, and there's a bunch of tunnels underneath, and the Shadow King is inside, and the king has been this like patriarchal hereditary lineage. And this place is basically just kind of gives in to the misery of what is happening. And it's crumbling. It's terrifying. It's hidden. And there are some like very depraved rituals that happen there. To the east, there is Grift. Okay, that's on the Eastern Peninsula. And there they have... It's ruled by King Sigfum the Kind. And you're like, oh, that's nice. You see Grift is like kind of locked off by these bridges, but not so good. King Sigfum the Kind is mocked in the street. Much of Grift has fallen into disrepair as vile creatures begin crawling from the dried, cracked earth. Each night the bridges scream and roar like great ships grinding upon rocks. Sigfum, the Kind, is defeated. He knows the end is near, believes the prophecies of Virhu, and so, this is great, kindly and calmly prepares his people for death. Huge parchments dot the streets, calendars of despair marking each correct preparation in its time. Each day a leaf is turned, and when the last page comes, Sigfum will march his people to the Cliff Terion to fulfill what was written. Which is 1,000 meters vertical rock with a raging sea beneath it. Now, there's the Inquisition of the two-headed basilisk is like the clergy, and they are not fond of this. They do not like that Sigfum is doing this because the whole point of the church, what they preach is that you are not supposed to turn away from this apocalypse. To kill yourself is heretical. You need to face the horror of it with open arms, and the way is not to die, but salvation lies through the mortification of the flesh. The apocalypse is to be met with eyes wide open. Only then can the soul be allowed passage to the shimmering fields. Heretics and apostates are hunted down and corrected in public and at length by the Inquisition. So we're already starting to see, despite the fact that all of these places are miserable, they all have different types of misery, and misery will come into this. Misery is an important part of this game that we'll come to see. We then have Kyrgyz, all right, with the castle of Alkans, and there is the leader of that land is the Blood Countess Anthelia, who for a long time, was like ageless. She was always youthful, but even she is starting to age. But then she gets a little bit younger, and they say that every time she gets younger, a knight goes missing. And so it's not too hard to imagine what's going on here from this picture. This looks like a combination of sort of an evil queen, the witch and the mirror witch. What was that? I forgot what that witch or that queen was from Snow. Was that Snow White, Sleeping Beauty? Are those the same things? I don't know. But basically, she's very vain. She hates that everything is pale. She wants more warmth. And she basically drains vibrancy from people and the world. All right. Then there's the Western Kingdom, Lake Onda. There's King Fathmu, who is very paranoid, and he's consumed with psychosis and invisible fears. And between the eastern and western part is the Valley of Unfortunate Undead, that people will go into, and as they're there, they sort of absorb the misery of this valley, and they become more and more like called to just, sort of literally and figuratively dig their own grave and jump in. But people go there because they have heard that Virhu is somewhere there. And so they go there hoping that maybe they can get an exception to the end of the world, or that they can have their fate changed, or that they can have the end of the world delayed, etc. Okay? So on one hand, we have He, and the two heads of He are Gorg and Virhu. Virhu is the prophet who has absolutely perfect prophecies. And at the other head is Gorg, and all we know about Gorg is that Gorg is very envious of Virhu, because why does Virhu get all the correct prophecies? That's all we know about Gorg. On this side is Lucy and Ark. Okay. Lucy is, I guess, the basilisk of, or the goddess of delay, I believe. And the other side of that Ark is of deception. Okay. And Ark actually says, no, Virhu gets all of his prophecies from me. But Ark is the queen of deception. So we don't really know. All right. Is that pretty vague? Yes. You know, it's even more vague. The fact that this page has this thing called the Basilisks Demand D20 and gives no instructions on what you do with that. However, in play, these are really cool adventure hooks. And we'll talk about the calendar of Necrobel next. These are good ways that people can use these as quests to like slow down or reverse the calendar. For instance, go find a widower's wedding ring, or a dagger onto which the condemned carve their victim's name, or a sword that has killed exactly 12 times. So that's like something to give to players. All right. Necrobel. All right. So you have she and he. All right. But then there's this Necrobel, and it's like, well, who is that? So this is a fifth sort of god or entity. All right. And Necrobel, this calendar of Necrobel, is the overall sort of like function, shall we say, the clock. Yeah, it's a clock or a calendar that counts down the end of this world that your players are playing in. Okay. And I'll explain how it works, but Necrobel is actually claims, no, all of these prophecies actually come from me. I'm like the god that is like telling Virhu what to say. So as you can see, we really don't know what's what here. You have some people saying things, but they're deceitful. We have some people who say they're absolutely right. Then some people who say, no, they're only absolutely right because they hear from this other god, Necrobel. Is it important to know all of this to play? No. Do you have to kind of get the vibe of that? Yeah, that's going to help. That's going to help you to create a world, especially as you are playing solo. Okay. In Galgenbeck, no king or queen rules in Galgenbeck, but an archpriestess, Josilfa Meagle. Deep beneath the cathedral, the two-headed basilisk, in a cool black chamber crossed with shards of light, lies her throne. So her throne is deep underground. Okay, commoners gossip that she colludes with the god Necrobel, who gave her eternal life. Necrobel, the shadow that covers all. Necrobel is the god of melancholy, crop failure, conflict, and war. And it is said that Necrobel whispered the apocalyptic prophecies into Virhu's ear. So, again, we have Virhu, who whispered the prophecies into the monk Anuk Schläger's ear, who wrote these down, and this became the nameless scriptures. And those nameless scriptures, a huge cathedral is built over them in Galgenbeck, and the high priestess there actually sits there with Necrobel in her ear saying, I'm the one who gave Virhu the prophecies. And on top of all that, Ark of she, Lucy and Ark, is the one saying, I'm the one who actually came up with the prophecies. Who knows? Okay. Calendar of Necrobel. So the way that this works is at the beginning of each dawn, each day, the GM will roll whatever die you start with. So if you wanted to play a near endless campaign, you could start with a D100. And anytime the calendar rolls as a 1, you will unleash one of these miseries in the world. And this looks like a Bible passage, but it's actually a D66. Like this is, chapter 2, verse 1. That's if you roll a 2 and a 1. Okay. And when it gets further and further along, finally you get to Psalm 7:7. And when you get there, the game is over. And how you want to deal with that is up to your game group. It could be that it's over. Or it could be that, all right, that's an apocalypse, and now we're going to rewind it and go back, or maybe what happens after the apocalypse. I have a ritual whenever I play MÖRK BORG is I always have to make my own character sheet. I don't know why. I just love to do it, and if you think that this will help you. I don't know why, but whenever I create this, it makes me want to like stick with the game more, just because I'm excited to use my own character sheet. But there is these miseries on the bottom here, and so when it gets to 7, that's technically when the game is over. So for solo play, you probably would not do a D100 because, you know, statistically, you could roll a 1 on that on your second day, or you can roll it 700 times before you hit a 1. And just to give you an idea, I was rolling D20s yesterday, and I didn't hit a 1 for like 27 rolls. All right, so that's 27 days. But when we do hit that 1, that, you know, this is happening at the beginning of every day. And you could say, oh, well, this is not a big deal. There's a 1. All right, so what did that take? 9 days? So when we're using the D20, when we hit that 1, we then roll a 2d6 or a d66, 63, or chapter 6, verse 3. And that says, Anthelia shall have her will and drink all color from the world. So you have to interpret what that means, right? Anthelia, again, is this one who sort of absorbs color. Does that mean that literally the color, the vividness of the world is drained? It's up to the GM, up to the solo player, right? But now the clock goes down to a D10. So you'll still roll every morning, but now you're only rolling a D10. And until that lands on a 1, right, you just keep rolling it every day. 5, 6, 7. I'll stop at 10. 9, 10. All right, one more. Come on, I can't roll 1. 12. I got a 13. Lucky number 14. I got to stop. All right, so yeah, that's 14 days. But then when it finally does hit a 1, again, we roll D66. You cannot roll. That would actually be the same thing again. You cannot roll the same one twice. So let's just pretend this was a chapter 3, verse 6. Brother shall slay brother and sister poison sister. Again, what does that mean? You have to apply it to your game, but that is these miseries that take over the world. All right. Now I move down to a D6. Now I'm rolling a D6 till I hit a 1. Obviously, that's going to happen a lot faster. 3 days. Okay. And now I do another misery, and now it's a D2, and I must show off. I must, because I know you're going to be jealous. Every time I show this, I get so many people unsubscribe because of jealousy. But I do have these 2 custom D2s for MÖRK BORG that serve just as the D2 coin flip. So yeah, you're basically like flipping this coin every day. Ooh, that's 2. You get to survive 3 days. 1. Okay. So when you hit 1 on the D2, then you read Psalm 7:7, which I won't read now. But that's basically how that world ends. All right. Okay. Let's talk about player creation. And we're at 47 minutes, so I'll tell you what. If you want to pause right now and take a break, you want to get some water, you want to have an Uncrustable peanut butter jelly disc, go ahead. I'll wait. You just pause. Welcome back. I hope your water and peanut butter jelly was good. We're now going to talk about character creation. I'm going to have a bite too. Oh, that was incredible. It's 11 p.m. while I'm recording this. I just had a snack. I had a cinnamon raisin mini bagel and some Monster. Perfect 11 p.m. snack. Okay. So right off the bat, we have 2 options for character creation. We can create our own, or we could use some of the archetypes. There are 6 archetypes for character creation, which are some of my faves. We have the Fang Deserter. We have, this picture is my favorite picture in this book. It is such a bad picture. I just want some like comparison here. Look at that picture. Okay, now here is Gutterborn Scum. I love it so much. It's so perfect. Which is like a bit like a rogue. And then we have an esoteric hermit. We have a wretched royalty. We have a heretical priest. And we have an occult herb master, which I guess is kind of like a plague doctor, or maybe a druid plus plague doctor. And then I think in Heretic, you have two other ones. One of them I think is Wretched. Yeah, the Sacrilegious Songbird, that's like a twisted bard, and the Shedding Vicar. Page 12. Let me just take a look at those. Yeah, the Shedding Vicar and the Sacrilegious Songbird. Always the bringer of unwelcome sounds, your vocation as a bard left you destitute and disreputable until the rueful day when a being of impious character made you the deal of a lifetime. Your soul may be screaming, but your throat sings sweetly, and your purse ever sweeter, a small price to pay. Okay. So you could do that, or you could just roll a character up. In this world, there are those who seek riches or redemption. Some say... Sorry, get a cough. Some say that the apocalypse is nigh. Some say the apocalypse is escapable, that it might even be stopped, and there you walk in discord and despair. One hand holds 2d6 times 10 silver. The other holds a water skin and d4 days worth of food. Your soul and silver are your own and equally easy to lose. To begin with, you are what you own. You roll a d6 for whether you get a backpack, small wagon, sack, or a donkey. A d12 for some items, some d12 for some more items. And then you are going to roll on this table. I believe it's just a d6. A weapon, d10. Or if you begin with a scroll, which is these items that are for magic users, then you roll a d6. You don't get the potential of his powerful weapon. But 6, for instance, is a sword. And all that's listed here is the damage. There's also the potential, if you don't have a scroll, to get a flail, a crossbow, or the Zweihander. We then have armor. If you begin with a scroll, you only roll with d2. But if not, you roll with a d4. And the armor is going to decrease the amount of damage you take. Like, for instance, medium armor is minus d4 damage. So that would take 1 off of whatever my hit is. But you're going to add 2 to the difficulty rating on any agility tests. So it is at this point that I'm going to not pause really, but I'm going to switch over to the abilities. Okay. So this is a d20 rollover game for the most part. You're mostly going to be using a d20 to resolve things, and usually you're trying to get equal to or over a 12. All right? Your 4 attributes are strength, agility, presence, and toughness. Agility is like dexterity. It helps you dodge attacks, do acrobatics, anything that involves balance or running away. And then strength is pushing, pulling, punching, heaving, grabbing, striking, whatever. Toughness is, your constitution, resistance to conditions, your ability to sustain or withstand injuries. And then presence is this interesting catch-all category that does things like anything that would be like empathy or charisma, but also like magic using, like wielding the magic, aiming, ranged weapons. And so I think those who are like, oh, this game's not for me, one of the things that they'll often cite is like how limited these abilities are. But again, what you lose in granularity, I just don't feel that strongly about it. And to be honest, one of my least favorite things is when I'm sitting at a table and somebody is just preening over their sheet, trying to figure out how to convince a doorman to let them in. And they go, oh, maybe I should use coercion. Or actually, I have this manipulation skill, but then I have this talent called like persuasion. Maybe I could use that. But really, it's like wits plus charm plus height because I'm taller, so I'm a little intimidating. And it's like, can we just roll the dice, please? And it's much easier for me to just kind of like, yes, I'm not going to get that level of specificity, but I'm going to get to the next thing. And that is very often more important to me. Okay. So these are actually derived scores. which I know can be scary, but really once you derive them, you're going to roll 3d6 for each of them. And once you derive them, you will never use that like bulk number again. All right. So the table here, you'll actually, what I like to do is it says to roll a 3d6, especially when I'm solo playing, I'll usually roll a 4d6 and then eliminate the lowest number. And for each of these, oops, let me get this, got my Mor Borg themed dice best as possible here. All right. So this actually, almost was a good roll. 13. All right. And so 13 would be a +2. When you start, your abilities are going to be between -3 and +3. The highest range of your abilities possible, even when you're leveling up, or what is called in this game getting better, is you can go up to a +6. Okay. After you get to a +1 over that, you can roll when you level up. You have to roll a d6, and if you get higher than your current rating, you can level it up 1. But if you get below it, you can also lose 1, which is kind of fun, I guess. So you're going to derive all those stats. So we'll do agility was what, 13, and so that's a +1. And then this one is 12, so that's right. 12. So that's going to be a 0. Yeah, this is very often what these rolls look like. So my presence is 0. Ooh, that's a very bad roll. 6, 8. 8 is going to be a -1. My strength is -1. And then my toughness is 11. So that is a +0. So not very good rolls. But we would just put +1, 0, or I'm sorry, -1, 0, +1. I forgot what order it was, but we'll use something else to roll up the character. And then whenever you do a test, you're just rolling a d20, adding one of these attributes, and trying to roll over usually a 12. So the difficulty rating, the standard one is going to be 12. You can obviously put it to anything. It just has to meet or exceed it. So if something was really easy, then it's a 6. If it's almost impossible, it's an 18. So let's just say that I'm trying to pull an old rusty lever. We say it's pretty, rusted over, but with enough strength, you should be able to get it. So I'll say my strength is -1. I'm going to roll. 7 - 1 is a 6. I fail. I'm not able to move the lever. Okay. Hit points is toughness plus D8, and with a minimum of 1. You have to at least have 1 hit point, because if you imagine if you roll your toughness as -3 and then you roll like a D8 2, you wouldn't be like, oh well, I only rolled because it's 1 and then my toughness is -3, so my character's at -2. I guess I died before the game started. Okay, and then you put this in a wood chipper and you're done. No, you at least get 1 HP. When you're at 0 HP, you are broken. All right. At broken, you roll a D4. And the options there when you're broken is you fall unconscious for D4 rounds and awaken with D4 HP. You roll a D6, and 1 through 5, you have a broken or severed limb. 6, you have a lost eye, and you can't act for D4 rounds, then become active with D4 HP. If you roll a 3, you hemorrhage, you die in D2 hours unless treated, and all tests are DR 16 the first hour and DR 18 the last. And if you roll a 4, you're dead. You're negative HP, less than 0, dead. I think the broken, we would have to adjust that for solo play, do something like, in Dragonbane solo, you can sort of like rally yourself. I think we'd have to add something for this. Initiative, there's 2 ways to do that. You can just roll a d6, and if you roll 1 to 3, the enemies go first, and 4 to 6, the player characters go first. Or you could do agility plus d6 for individual initiative. Melee tests are you're going to test your strength against difficulty 12. Ranged is you test your presence against 12. And defense, you test your agility. All right. The enemies, their stats are only going to put their damage. Because when an enemy tries to attack you, all you're going to do is you're going to test your agility DR 12. So say my agility is 1 and I roll a 12. I did roll a 12. Then I have a 13 and the enemy missed me. If I rolled a 5 and they hit me, I would look at my armor and I would say, okay, my armor, I have medium armor. and that's going to remove D4 damage. So we'll say that the enemy has D4 damage, so they hit me for 1, and then my armor, also protects against 1, so that is nullified anyways. However, if I was wearing any armor beyond light armor, my agility difficulty tests are increased by 2 or 4, respectively. A shield will protect from 1. Scrolls never work when wielding Zweihanded weapons or medium or heavy armor. Your carrying capacity is strength plus 8. That's your encumbrance. If you roll a 20, it's a crit. If you roll a 1, it's a fail. And there's some rules here for attack and defense, what those do. Again, we're going to have to figure out a little something different for Solitary Defilement just because it's using a 2d20 system. The last thing here, there's different. You could either like have a breather or take a full rest. If you encounter someone, you could do a reaction to see, like, suppose you encounter just like a beast out in the wild. You can see, I guess, even an NPC, do they want to kill you? Are they angry? Are they indifferent? Are they almost friendly? Are they helpful? And then morale. You want to really use this morale system because this is a brutal game, right? You could be sitting here at the beginning of the game with 4 HP. You really do want to expect your character to die in this game. It's just the truth because, I've had campaigns where I've had one character for like the whole time that was incredible and rare. Usually my character will die and I'll take a break from the session and then I'll literally pick up, like, here's my character's dead body. And my new character's like, oh, cool. I'll take all this person's equipment and then just keep walking. Right. And so that's something, especially in solo play, you kind of have to get used to. Morale you will use a lot because you're not going to want to fight all these enemies to the bitter end. And if they are demoralized, they will either flee or surrender. You can roll a morale check when you're fighting a group of foes and their leader is killed. You test their morale. If you eliminate half of them, you test the other one's morale. And if a single enemy only has a third of their HP left, you could test their morale. And basically, each character has a morale value. So we'll just take like an example from the free campaign, Rot Black Sludge. So slumbering skeletons, their morale is 7. So say we've eliminated half of them. And you have to roll 2d6 and get greater than the enemy's morale. So if their morale is 7, I'm rolling a 2d6. Oh my God. So they would not be demoralized. But say I did roll higher than it with an 8, I would then roll again to see if they flee. 1 to 3, they flee. Or 4 to 6, they surrender. Okay. There's some rules for getting better. Powers. A few so-called powers are known, and they are usually found written in scrolls. Roll presence plus d4 every morning to see how many times you can use powers that day. Choose from your available scrolls. So you have these scrolls, and you open them and cast from those scrolls, and you could do it as many times as your roll at the beginning of the day, but you still have to do a presence check with a difficulty rating of 12. If you succeed, the power is activated, and you subtract 1 use from your daily total. If you fail, the power doesn't work, you lose D2 HP, and you become dizzy for the next hour. During this time, powers will always fail in the worst possible way. So these are divided between clean and sacred, clean and unclean scrolls, they might be called. The unclean scrolls are going to be things that are like damage-based, fireballs, inflicting a condition on an enemy, putting an enemy to sleep, summoning, necromancy, summoning skeletons, lightning bolts. Whereas these sacred scrolls are going to be more things like healing, buffs, things like that, defense. Okay. And I should say, if you roll a crit fail while casting, you have to roll on this arcane catastrophes table. And some of these are just like funny narrative effects. Like if you roll a 1, 1 by 1, your teeth fall out. Long, brittle fingernails replace them in your gums. Your smile is horrific and you find it hard to eat. A caster who rolls the same result. See, this is just on like the outside of the page here. That's what I'm talking about. A caster who rolls the same result twice explodes in screaming black fire in which the faces of the dead are seen. D6 damage each round. Water only feeds this fire. So you definitely don't want to roll twice in the same combat. And then if you go up to 20, you're just like consumed immediately by the Basilisks. So you don't want to overcast. It's very dangerous to use magic. You then have omens, which are much like inspiration. And if you, every time you rest at least 6 hours, you regain however many omens you get every day. You roll a d2 for most classes to figure this out. So if I roll a 1, that means I get 1 omen a day, and then every time I rest 6 hours, I get 1 omen again. And omens, you know, it's like inspiration. You can deal maximum damage with an attack. You can re-roll a dice roll. You can lower damage dealt to you, neutralize a crit or a fumble, or lower one's test difficulty rating by 4. Sometimes omens, especially in Solitary Defilement, are used as a stat too. It'll say like roll DR12 presence plus omens. And so if you have 2 omens, you get to add 2 to your dice roll without even using the omens. So that I find is another interesting system of like having to make this choice of, do I use these omens because I'm going to be doing these tests that use omens as a stat, and if I use up the omens, I won't be able to add that to my dice roll. These optional tables are terrible traits that you roll twice on, broken bodies, like things that are wrong with you, bad habits. These are not optional in my book, especially for solo play. You definitely want to have this to fill in that context. And then you have these troubling tales, which are very good for spawning adventures and trying to figure out, what motivates your character, what kind of like mission they're going to undertake. And then I'll also say in the back of the book, there's an adventure spark table with D100 that we definitely use in solo play to figure out why you're going, where you're going. It also has like where you might start, where do you wander, what contacts you. This could be a good way to sort of do an inciting incident. Okay. And beyond that, we talked about arcane catastrophes. We talked about the different... then here's some creatures. Of course, a goblin named Seth. So this will just say their HP, their morale, and then their defense. Like Seth has ropey skin, so minus D2. It's kind of like armor, and then has a knife and short bow for D4, and has a special, which is quick attacks and defense are D14. Oh, quick. Attacks and defense are D14. I see. So my attacks and defense against Seth are a difficulty of 14. Very cool. So yeah, pretty easy to draw up those characters. It'll take a little bit of a balancing to figure, what is appropriate for solo play, but the Solitary Defilement is pretty good. Here is the abilities and tests of... this is like a pretty quick reference sheet that I always keep queued up for just the basic mechanics. And then this is how to build a dungeon. And I just want to show, before I go to Solitary Defilement, I just want to show a few tools that are really, really good. So the first one is, if you go... This is actually on morkborg.com. I don't want to bring it up because it's a very... computer intensive site. When you're there, it takes up a lot of your RAM, and so it'll sometimes slow down my video. But you can find the links to these here. This first one is a dungeon generator. It's called Dungeon. And what happens, you want to click to enter the dungeon, and it will bring up a name of it, the status, imminent danger, who or what dwells there, what brings you here, and you can like click through these to get different ones. But every time you click it, it'll randomize everything. And then as you're going through the rooms, room 1 is this, room 2 is this, 3, 4. But say you want 10 rooms, you could just click then when you're done with room 1, and it'll give you a new room 3, and you can print that out. So this is excellent, and it's sort of, I don't know, sometimes when I use online tools, I feel like it's a little bit cheap, but this one really does... This one is really great, just in quickly bringing up everything, because this can slow you down sometimes generating these dungeons. So I think that's a good one. The other one that I really like is the character generator, which also a link for it there. And you don't like the one you got, you just kill that one. You are Dedrick, brought up by illiterate, pig-ignorant churls in a peaceful Vastland forest. You're a forlorn philosopher. This would be a tough character to have. HP of 1, 2 omens, but they get to roll a d4 every day for omens. It has equipment, it has abilities, and you could just sort of like print that out. I don't know what MBC content, Mor Borg cult content is fan-made and unofficial. Okay, so you can like disable or enable that. Cool. Yeah, so this one is another good one. Character generator is just really good at pretty quick if you're especially, playing a one-shot. This is excellent. And then the last thing is you just click on the egg for this monster, and then it produces a new monster for you. And I think that's pretty damn cool, especially, if you just want to quickly generate that. These are excellent tools. I mean, these are some of the best design tools I've ever seen for games like this. So just an idea. I get it on a lot of games. I like to roll this stuff up myself. This is basically the way to do that on your own, is just using this page there to generate the dungeon. And there is a starting an introductory dungeon crawl of Rot Black Sludge. And if you use Heretic and Feretory, which this Feretory you really should use for the Solitary Defilement, it references it a lot because it has rules for overland travel. It has rules for hunting and foraging. And it has a bunch, for hunting, it has like a bunch of different things that you could hunt in different places. It has this like hex crawl. It has ruin navigation to generate ruins, D100 items and trinkets. And so just tons and tons of really good stuff here. Some more weapons and items. Stuff for an inn. The Cursed Skinwalker, that's another character archetype that you can use. A shape-shifting class and an alien class called the Pale One, and a blasphemous class called the Dead God's Prophet, and the Forlorn Philosopher is in there as well. So yeah, pretty cool. And I'm wondering now if I accidentally, this is another pretty cool stuff here. It's just if you want to build out more about a unique monster. I'm trying to figure out though if I accidentally put something that was supposed to be in the back cover of, because it just feels like I'm not able to hold everything in here. But I know Dark Fort was in the back of Heretic. Well, I don't know. Well, why don't we just divide them up? How about we put the little dungeon crawl comic thing back there, and then we'll put Dark Fort in the back of here. Good. Everyone happy? Then I'm happy. Okay, so let us talk about Solitary Defilement. So, Solitary Defilement, again, it is on its third printing by Max Moon Games. That's Max right there. And this game actually is going to use the Powered by the Apocalypse or Iron Sworn D20, 2D20 system. And how this works is you have a difficulty rating. So again, the basic difficulty rating is going to be 12. And this works better for a solo game because you're able to have 3 options instead of 2. When you're just rolling a D20, you fail or you succeed, okay? But when you're rolling a 2D20, you can have this roll, which if we have a modifier, say our modifier is +1, we have a strong hit because both of these dice passed. 18 plus 1 is 19, 11 plus 1 is 12. We were equal to or greater than 12. You could also have more commonly a roll like this that one of them succeeds, and that's a weak hit. So that's sort of a yes, but. You succeed, but less well or with some other unintended consequence. And that right there is the most common roll you're going to have, is this weak hit, one passes, one doesn't. And when that happens, that allows you to pull out a new thread of the story, which is why this approach is useful for solo play. And this would be an example, perfect, of two rolls that both failed, and this would be a fail. You do not succeed, and something negative or occasionally catastrophic happens instead. Now, I've been thinking a lot about how I want to do crits, like crit successes. I know that if we do a strong hit, we really succeed, but I want something for like a spectacular outcome. And I think because I could say that, oh, both dice have to be 20 or 1, but I think the chances of that are astronomical. They wouldn't happen very often. So I'm going to say that a critical success is when both dice, it's a strong hit, both dice succeed, and at least one of them is a 20. And a crit fail would be when both dice fail and one of them is a 1. That's my executive ruling on that, just so that I have that. And then obviously we can also use the Fate Mill whenever we need to as well. For Necrobel, the calendar, it says to start with a die of your choice, no higher than D20. And I think that we would do that down to D12, D10, D8, D6, D4, D2. I think that would be the great way to go for the calendar of Necrobel. And almost all dice roll tests are handled by the move system. However, combat follows the normal MÖRK BORG rules. So we wouldn't use that. We would just be using a single D20 in combat. Omens can be used to reroll either one or both dice when making a move. Your character can have a maximum of 4 omens, and they also function as an additional stat akin to luck in many of the moves. And for this reason, I think we'll start with 2 omens when we play solo, but I'll keep it so that it's a D4 reroll every day. Because we need to give our character a little something extra in this game, just to help them survive since they're on their own. Okay. The way that we're going to figure out an adventure is we begin by determining like what level of adventure this is. So I would say that because, you know, right now I'm planning on just doing one session of this, I'll probably do a depressing one. Depressing means there's going to be 4 milestones. And when I complete those milestones, I've completed an adventure. And if I die before I complete those milestones, I've failed on the adventure unless I decide to pick it up and keep going. But that's basically how you are going to set up the success or failure. And if you're playing longer term, you can do a depressing adventure, hit all 4 milestones, succeed, and then say, okay, well, I'm going to start a new adventure with different milestones. And go from there. Now, in the back of Solitary Defilement is a really good, probably one of the most extensive example play that I've ever seen in a solo book. I mean, it's just, it not only gives like the steps of what's happening, it also has a commentary from the author, and I just think it's incredible. So they roll up Katla, the Chosen Scum, and this is a 7 out of 7 HP, 2 omens, -2 strength, -2 agility, 0 presence, 1 toughness. We have some equipment, and we'll use the adventure sparks to spark the adventure. And right then and there, we get like a little dungeon crawl here. I decided that rather than a straight shot dungeon crawl, this would be a campaign style play involving several days travel from Kyrgyz to the Valley of the Unfortunate Dead. So rolled up all these different encounters of monsters, but didn't fill in their stats yet because they want to get a sense of like what their power looks like, what their survivability looks like, which I agree with that. And once the adventure is begun, this example solo player then says, okay, I want to do a depressing level of adventure. That means they're going to have 4 milestones. And they go ahead and to the best of their abilities, they list out what they think those milestones are going to be. And so if their adventure, again, it's like, oh, I have to bring Venom back to Gloomflail. We know 2 of those milestones. Get Venom, bring back to Gloomflail. These should be things that you can definitively check off when they're completed. right? So they shouldn't be like, have success against monsters. It's like, well, what does that mean? If we need to be specific. It's kind of like when you're doing your evaluation at work, you have to be specific and measurable. These goals have to be smart. Specific, measurable, action-oriented, radishes or ranch dressing, and toupee. They have to involve a toupee. Smart. But yeah, almost everything else is going to use this 2D20 system. For instance, searching for an object is DR14 plus omens, right? And so there's just like a little bit of difference in the moves in this game because you're using omens for it as well. And then there is these, so after you have created the adventure, after you've created your milestones, as you move around the overland, which again, Feretory has instructions for how to do that, generating the days, you're going to keep rolling the calendar of Necrobel. When you enter anything that could be a dungeon, abandoned building, ruins, whatever, you are going to figure out what size your dungeon is. So a DR6, DR12, DR14, which would be a huge dungeon, 17 to 32 rooms. You'll generate that dungeon, okay? And then what follows from page 9 is a bunch of awesome oracles and tables. Regions, crowd sizes. I love this one. A massive crowd. Roll a D1000 plus 400. What does a D1000 look like? Is that just a sphere? A Dyson sphere? Religious denominations, buildings and structures, geographical features, materials, sounds, odors, taste, dungeon room descriptions, NPCs, room contents, room exits. And then right here we have chef's kiss. One of my favorite things in solo games is this loop. We start the day, we roll the calendar of Necrobel, we roll the weather in the core book. Do we travel or resupply? If we want to resupply, we're going to hunt, we're going to forage, we resolve encounters. At the end of the day, we camp. I love this. I love seeing this. We know what we need to do. Has advice for dungeon crawling. Has a few micro crawls here. It shows you how to do record keeping, and honestly, I'm not sure about this. It says that the dungeon crawl sheet includes the categories from dungeon template plus additional space. I don't know if that's an online forum or something that it used to include, but I cannot find the crawl sheet. Am I like not looking in the right place? If anyone knows what that refers to, let me know. If there's just maybe an online thing, I would love to see this because it looks like kind of a clever way to track encounters. But yeah, these are some little micro calls. Here's an overland crawl, and then here's some general advice to players. I really, really like this advice. I really like one of these advice is managing weak hits, and how usually you'll say, "Oh, a weak hit is." I jumped across this gap, but I slipped and I twisted my ankle. And something that the author says is like, what if a weak hit meant you didn't attempt it at all and you had to reattempt it using a different skill, or you lost an object while you were running over it, or you whatever effect you were hoping for is less potent. Because I think a lot of times what we'll do is we'll say, okay, I got a weak hit. That means I was able to jump across the ledge, but I lost HP or I lost some gold. And it's like, how could it be that the story could be modified in a way that makes it a little more difficult or puts in some frustration? And that feels like the wrong move because you're like, no, I want to get to the next thing. But this is what I keep stressing. There's nowhere to get in solo play. Wherever you think you're going, you're not going to feel euphoric when you get there. You're going to feel good as you're traveling there. So you should not be in any hurry. Don't get addicted to an outcome. Don't get addicted to a destination, right? Let the story unfold. Trust yourself. Trust that the story is heading in the right direction because everything makes sense in retrospect. You know, think about your own career. I bet when people ask you, what do you do for a living? And you tell them as if it was some magical path that you planned and executed all on your own. And you know damn well that you just fell from one thing to the next, one accident after another, one strange promotion, one job you got laid off from before you even knew how, some job that you took and said, I'm going to hate this, and then you loved it. You just have all these different things that only make sense in retrospect. That's how solo play goes. If it seems like it doesn't make sense now, wait a minute. It will make sense. Trust the decision you have made will make sense. And if things aren't great, if you really put yourself into a corner, that's fine. Take a break, make some adjustments, and start again. And then the reaction table, your best frenemy. Not every person or creature you encounter is wanting to eviscerate you. Most of them are. That's really important because if you try to attack everyone you encounter, you're going to die very quickly. And then again, it's just about like taking death like a champ, and then this amazing gameplay example. All right, so what I'm going to do is I guess I will see if I can roll up a character. I'm going to make a few adjustments, only in that I'm not going, since I'm solo playing, I'm not going to accept an HP below 4. And I think we're going to start with 2 omens and do a D4 omen refill. But otherwise, I'm pretty open to, I think, any stats, unless I have like -3 and everything. Let's give it a shot. You are Harmug. The earliest memories are of a burnt black building in Sarkash. Your home, you have 30 or so friends who never let you down. Your teeth. Okay, great. So this is a Fang Deserter who has like a bite move. My stats are not great. That's fine. So my strength is a 0. My agility is a -1. My presence is a 0. And my toughness is +1. Omens are 2, but I'm going to give myself a D4 refill on the omens every day. My HP is 8 current and 8 max. Oh, sorry. If you can't see what I'm doing here, but just so that you know, I'm just filling all this in. Prone to substance abuse and problems with authority. One hand lacks thumb and index finger. Grips like a lobster. Consistently loses important items and forgets vital facts. My equipment, I have a water skin, 4 days worth of food. And by the way, my encumbrance again is a strength +8. So I have 8. I can hold 8 items. A sling, that's good. So my weapon 1 is a sling with D4 damage with an unlimited amount of rocks. A backpack for 7 normal size items. A lantern, a hammer. Okay, so this is good. So I have a sling, and I'll use the sling in the claw hand since I don't need to fully grip a hammer, and then I'll use a hammer in the other one. It doesn't look like I have any armor. I do have Old Sigurd's sling. Sigurd was the strongest man whose throat you ever gnawed. Woven from his long gray hair, this sling has never failed you. 2d4 damage, requires fist-sized rocks, which perhaps regrettably are everywhere. So actually my sling is a 2d4. That's fun. And the hammer is going to be a d4. And then I have a bite attack, which is a DR10 attack for d6 damage. You must be close. 1 to 2 on d6 chance the enemy gets a free attack. That makes sense because I'm trying to bite. Agility tests are DR +2, excluding defense. You are incapable of understanding scrolls. Thank heavens. I am Harmug, and I am a Fanged Deserter. No powers. Fine. You know my position on that. I love it. So let's print it. Let's put it to print, right? I think it'll just download it. And then also, while we're at it, no, I just want a PDF. You don't need to see all this. Okay. While we're trying to get that PDF'd, let's also roll just a adventure hook here to see what Harmug is going to be up to. Adventure Spark. D100. Ooh, let's use our dyadic D20. Black is 10s, red is 1s. We have 97. Children hum forbidden songs. All right, let me think about that one. Children hum forbidden songs. So there could be some sort of musical mania happening, sweeping the countryside. And yeah, I think otherwise we have everything we need. I have like weaknesses. I'm clumsy and dull-witted. I have my backstory. I have 101 silver. And we will start with we will start with, you know what I'm not clear on actually, and I don't know why I forget this. I have a backpack and I have encumbrance. Does the backpack expand my encumbrance? If you know, comment down below. Oh my gosh, we're at an hour and a half. All right, thank you everybody. And for those that have watched this entire video, I guess I should ask a bonus question at the end for a confusing comment opportunity. So I guess I'll say, of all condiments, we're talking ketchup, mustard, maple syrup, honey mustard, which is my favorite. Write down in the comments which condiment, if forced, or maybe not, maybe you'd enjoy it, which one would you drink straight from the bottle? Or I guess if it's mayonnaise, spoon directly into your mouth. I'll allow you to consider that while I consider what it means for children to hum forbidden songs. And I hope that we meet again. And I like this so much, I think I'm going to keep doing solo RPG videos. No more Deli Meats videos. I mean, occasionally I can do Deli Meats videos, but